So I know hate's a strong word, but I have to say it. I hate Helluva Boss. Okay, don't kill me now, but I do have something to say before we start the video. If you are triggered by any of the following, I'd recommend you to click off this video. It's just probably not for you. Thank you for supporting my channel anyway, and even being interested in watching this video. It means a lot as a small content creator. But if you are triggered by any topic of abuse, gaslighting, or hate towards Helluva Boss, click off this video. I really appreciate your support. Let's get into the video. Now, because Stolas was forced to marry a woman he didn't like just so they could have a child, and he had to be married to her, people often see him as a victim, and the writers like portraying him as a victim, so people just feel, oh, so bad for him. Now, unfortunately, the biggest problem is that this gets applied with situations where he's not the victim. Now, I'm not going to talk about his ongoing relationship with Blitz, because that's not what I hate about the show. That's just something I find annoying, but that's not the reason why I wanted to make this video. So if you want me to talk about anything like that, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. But we are going to be talking about how he's shown as a victim towards his own daughter. Now, I want you to know something. Stolas is around 35 in actual canon. So just know that when I'm talking about different things in this video. Now it's time for me to get on to my next point, which is... So for the two people watching who haven't seen Helluva Boss and don't know any of these characters, Octavia is the daughter of Stolas. And Stolas does not mean any harm with treating Octavia horribly. He actually seems to treat her very well and doesn't really try being malicious towards her, which is good, I guess. Now, Stolas is an abusive father, not in a physical way, but in an emotional and neglectful way. And before anyone comments, well, at least it wasn't physical abuse, you should take abuse very seriously, no matter what kind of abuse it is, and comparing abuse with other kinds of abuse is not okay and is actually really horrible. This is coming from someone who has experienced both emotional abuse and neglect abuse. But just so you know, neglect abuse and emotional abuse can be done accidentally without trying to harm someone intentionally. However, it's still pretty serious and still harms people. Now, if Stolas was purposely written like this to be a villain, then I think it's an excellent job at showing a villain, because this is clearly a horrible situation and he's clearly in the wrong no matter what the writers want you to believe, which is... Remember how I told you the show often portrays Stolas, and the fans also like to portray Stolas as a victim and not an abuser? And even though Octavia is clearly an abuse victim, the show and the fans usually just like to say something like, Octavia's going through teenage angst, which is absolutely disgusting and horrible to say about an abuse victim. Do you really think it's okay to go to someone who's getting neglected by their parent and just say to them, well, you're just upset because you're going through hormones right now? Do you really think that's acceptable? Because the show's gaslighting people into thinking that Octavia isn't a victim. She's just going through actual teenage angst and her abuse doesn't matter. She's not even going through abuse according to them, which is actually wild and very insane behavior. But the thing is that if Stolas was purposely written like this to be a bad guy, I would think this is amazing writing. Because some quick character advice here, if anyone's trying to write characters and trying to make them dislikable, sometimes making them not have any punishments to their horrible actions makes them super dislikable to the audience, because they're literally not getting punished for any of the horrible things they do to the characters we actually like. But as you can tell, my expectations are too high because I still have more of the video to go, and the next part is... Now, unfortunately, he's not a canonical villain, so no one sees his actions as actually horrible, even though they are, and it's just terrible. Because even though Stolas never hangs out with Octavia, doesn't even remember the things she wants to do when hanging out with him, and only starts missing her whenever she isn't interacting with him, I'm sorry, but you cannot be serious. Except they are serious with this. This mostly really bothers me because emotional abuse and neglect abuse really aren't taken as seriously as physical abuse cases, and it's not okay. Because, say it with me now, abuse is abuse and shouldn't be compared with different kinds of abuse.
And honestly, this is my favorite scene in the entire show because Octavia finally gets away from Stolas.
Is that why you didn't even hesitate when you got a chance to leave?
I love you, Fia, so much. Please, sweetie, let me explain.
I can't. You lied to me once and you'll do it again. Have a great life with him, Dad.
No, Thea, please! Please!
I don't see enough praise going to Octavia for this. She stood up to her abuser. This is amazing. Victims usually struggle a lot with being able to leave the abusive situation, whether a relationship, whether someone in their family, and lots of other kinds of situations. So her actually standing up to Stolas and finally being able to get some recognition and leave that situation is very good, and I'm very proud of her. On the other hand, Stolas crying after this is actually ridiculous. This is all his fault. Again, the show is trying to portray Stolas as the victim by making him all sad and super depressed after this, which is actually insane. And Octavia really did get him with this scene.
And you don't love me, you love him.
And Octavia is completely right to believe that. She has seen and heard Stolas openly flirt with Blitz right in front of her. And the reason why Stolas is such an absent father is because he's spending all his time with Blitz. Do you see why I hate Stolas now? Anyways, I think I've said all I've wanted to say in this video, so if you enjoyed it, check out my other content, and if you enjoy that, like and subscribe. Unless if you only want Helluva Boss content, I'm probably never doing a video on this ever again, so if you subscribe for that, it's basically pointless. But anyways, I'll see you in the next one, Fruity Loopers.